In the old days, every camp had things it did not show. It did not matter how welcome you were, how warmly you were fed, how freely the stories flowed around the fire. There were places you were not taken, stores you were not shown, medicine that was kept wrapped. And this was not coldness, and it was not distrust of the guest. It was wisdom about the world. Because the old people understood something that your generation was taught to forget, and the generation after you never learned at all. They understood that a life, like a camp, has parts that die when they are exposed. Not might be harmed, die. Certain things lose their power the moment too many eyes touch them. Certain things become weapons the moment they leave your mouth. And a person who shows everything, tells everything, opens every store to every visitor, is not being warm. They are being unguarded. And the unguarded, in every age, in every place, are the ones who get harvested. Tonight I'm going to give you the old defense. 5 parts of your life that you must protect from everyone. And I want to be careful with that word, everyone, because I mean it more than you think I mean it. Not just strangers, not just the neighbor. I mean the circle close to you as well, and before you resist that, stay with me, because I'm going to show you exactly why, and by the end you will understand that protecting these 5 things is not a withdrawal from the people you love. It is the thing that makes it safe to keep loving them. The first part of your life you must protect is your plans, what you are about to do, the move you are considering, the thing you are saving for, the small dream that has finally, after all these years, started to stir again. Protect it. Say nothing. And here is why, and the why is not what you think. It is not only that people will gossip, though they will. It is that a plan in its early days is like a seed just under the soil. It is alive, but barely. It has no root system yet. It cannot survive weather. And other people's opinions are weather. The raised eyebrow when you mention the trip, the sister who says, "At your age?" The friend who means well and lists the risks. The son who laughs, not cruelly, just carelessly, and says, "You?" Every one of those reactions is a cold rain on a seed that needed 2 more weeks of warmth. And I have watched more dreams die in conversation than ever died in failure. Hear that again. More dreams are killed by being spoken too early than by being attempted and lost. The old people knew this so deeply that they had a practice around it. When something new was forming, a decision, a journey, a change, they went quiet about it. They let it root in the dark, the way every seed on this earth roots in the dark. And they spoke of it only when it was already strong enough that no one's weather could kill it. You have a seed right now. I know you do. Because everyone does, even at 80, especially at 80. Say nothing. Water it in silence. Let them find out when it blooms. The second part of your life you must protect is your money. What you have, what you do not have, what you have saved, what you have promised, what is in the will. Silence. Total silence. And I say this knowing your generation was raised to think talking about money is vulgar, so you may believe you already do this. You do not. You leak. Everyone leaks. The little mention of the certificate that came due. The comment about what the house is worth now. The sigh about helping one of the children, which tells every listener 2 things at once, that you have money and that you can be gotten to through guilt. Understand what information about your money does in other people's minds. It plants. Even in good people, even in family, it plants. The moment the people around you know your numbers, every one of them, without wanting to, begins to have a relationship with your money. The struggling nephew starts doing arithmetic he is not even proud of. The daughter starts thinking of the inheritance as already hers, and starts, without ever saying it, auditing how you spend what she has quietly come to consider her own. I have watched elders become guests inside their own money, explaining their purchases, apologizing for a vacation because they let the family into the numbers, and the family moved in and took over the bookkeeping. Your money is not a family topic. What you give, give freely and by choice. But what you have, that is between you, your spouse if you have one, and whatever lawyer writes the papers. The old people kept their stores out of sight not because they loved their neighbors less, because they had watched what the sight of stores does to neighbors over a long winter. I will give you one story on this because I watched it happen across 15 years. A widow in a community I knew came into some money when her husband passed, insurance and the sale of his equipment, a decent sum, enough to carry her comfortably to the end. And she was a warm, open woman, and in her grief and her loneliness she talked, and within a season everyone close to her knew roughly what she had. She did not brag, she just did not guard. And I want you to understand, nothing dramatic happened. No one robbed her, no one swindled her. What happened was slower and more polite than that. The requests began. Small at first, a nephew's car repair, a grandson's school fees, a daughter's rough patch, each one reasonable, each one framed with the same invisible sentence underneath, "We know you have it." And she could never again say, "I can't afford it," because everyone knew she could. She had given away the only shield a generous heart has, which is the other person not knowing. So her only choices, request after request, year after year, were to give or to refuse and be judged as cold by people who had counted her money in their heads. 15 years of that. And near the end she said to me the saddest sentence. She said, "I don't know anymore which of them comes to see me and which of them comes to see it." That is what unguarded money does. It did not just drain her savings, it poisoned her ability to trust every knock on her own door. A woman with the same warm heart and a closed mouth would have kept both the money and the certainty of being loved. Guard the numbers. It is not stinginess. It is the protection of every relationship you have from a test none of them needs to take. Before I share the next teaching, I need to tell you something. I am not going to be here forever, and most of what I know was never written anywhere. So I sat down and I wrote it. All of it. 20 teachings, 4 parts, in the order they were meant to be received. The ones about guarding what keeps you strong. The ones about the quiet defenses that let an elder stay free. The ones I have never said on camera. It is called The Native Way, and it costs less than one dinner you will not remember. Scan the code on your screen or look in the comments, but do not leave yet, because the third thing on this list is the one almost nobody protects, and it is the one that gets used against people your age more than any other. The third part of your life you must protect is your wounds, your griefs, your regrets, the marriage that almost broke, the season of darkness you barely survived, the thing that still makes you cry when the house is empty. Now be careful with me, because this one requires precision. I am not telling you to never share your pain. Sharing pain with the right person at the right depth is one of the most healing acts a human being can perform, and I have built whole teachings on it. I am telling you to protect your wounds from general circulation, because here is what your generation was never warned about. A wound told to the wrong person becomes a handle they can grab you by for years. Tell the wrong person about your loneliness and watch them use it. Suddenly they visit only when they need something, because they know the visit itself is your payment, and you will say yes to whatever comes wrapped in it. Tell the wrong person about the estrangement with your son, and watch it surface later in an argument, sharpened, thrown back at you at the exact angle that cuts deepest. No wonder your own son doesn't call you. People collect wounds the way they collect any useful information, and most of them do not even know they are doing it until the day comes when they need leverage, and there it is, in the drawer where you put it. The old rule is this: wounds are shown to healers only. The person who has earned it, proven over years, the one who held your last confidence with clean hands. That circle, for most people, is 1 or 2 souls in a lifetime. Everyone else gets the weather report, not the wound. "I'm doing fine, thank you for asking." That sentence is not a lie. It is a door, and doors are what keep a dwelling warm. And because I know some of you think your circle is the exception, let me tell you how I learned this one, because I learned it the hard way in my own family. Years ago, in a season of trouble, I confided something to a relative I trusted. A real wound, an old shame, something I had carried alone for a long time. And the relative received it well, kindly even, and for a while, nothing. And then, 2 years later, at a family gathering, in the middle of a disagreement that had nothing to do with anything, in front of others, it came back, sharpened, aimed. One sentence, and my own wound, which I had handed over in trust, went through me like a blade with my own name carved in the handle. And here is the part I need you to understand, because it is the part that took me longest. The relative was not an evil person. They had not spent 2 years plotting. They had simply, in a heated moment, reached into the drawer for the heaviest thing they had, and the heaviest thing they had was what I gave them. That is how it works, almost every time. Not villains. Ordinary people, in ordinary anger, using the best ammunition available. The wound you share does not need a wicked listener to become a weapon. It only needs one bad afternoon, years later, in the hands of an ordinary one. So the rule is not share only with good people. Most people are good. The rule is share only with the 1 or 2 who have proven, through years and through their own bad afternoons, that the drawer stays shut. Everyone else, and I say this with love, everyone else gets the weather report. The 4th part of your life you must protect is your home. And I mean this in the old, full sense. What happens inside your walls. The argument you had with your wife last Tuesday. The strange thing your husband does that irritates you. What your marriage is really like. What your evenings are really like. The state of your housekeeping, your habits, your rituals, the texture of your private world. Protected, all of it. The old people had a saying, "What the lodge sees, the lodge keeps." And they enforced it with a seriousness that would startle you, because they understood something about the nature of a home. A home is not a building. A home is a trust. It is the one place on this earth where every person in it can be fully unguarded, can be tired, can be foolish, can be wrong, can be weak, without it costing them anything in the outside world. That is what a home is for. That is the entire medicine of it. And every time you carry something from inside those walls out into circulation, you spend some of that trust. The wife who tells her sisters every flaw of her husband has, without meaning to, sold his dignity for conversation. And he feels it, believe me, at the next family gathering, in the way the sisters look at him, he feels exactly what has been sold. And a man who learns that his home reports on him stops being unguarded in it. He goes quiet, and the wife then wonders why he never opens up anymore. He never opens up because opening up in that house gets published. Protect the lodge, both directions. What your spouse does wrong is not content for your telephone calls. What your family struggles with is not material for the neighborhood. The homes that stay warm for 50 years are the ones where both people know to the bone that the walls do not talk. And the fifth part of your life you must protect, and this is the one that will surprise you, is your good deeds, the help you give, the money you slip to the grandchild, the neighbor you quietly look after, the kindness that nobody knows about. Keep it that way. Nobody knows. And this one is not about defense, it is about power. So listen closely, because this is the deepest of the five. The old people believed that a good deed is like a medicine bundle. Sealed, it keeps its power. It works on the world quietly, and it works on you. It becomes part of your strength, your standing with the Creator, your own respect for the person in your mirror. But opened for display, announced, told at the dinner table, posted for the approval of others, the power leaks out of it. It stops being medicine and becomes advertising. And you can feel the difference in your own chest. You have felt it your whole life. The kindness you did in secret warmed you for years. The kindness you told people about gave you one small flash of their approval, and then went strangely flat, and you did not know why. I am telling you why. You traded the deep payment for the shallow one. You sold the medicine for applause, and applause is the lowest currency there is. And there is a defensive reason too, so I will give you both. The moment your generosity becomes known, it becomes expected. The relative you helped once, quietly, thanks you once. The relative you helped publicly considers you an institution, and institutions do not get thanked, they get applied to. So do your good in the dark. Let the results walk around in daylight without your name on them. It is the only wealth that grows by being hidden. My grandmother lived this one so completely that we only learned the size of it after she was gone. At her funeral, which I have told you before could not fit in the building, strangers kept coming to the family, one after another. A man who said she had paid for his medicine through an entire winter decades back when his children were small. A woman who said that when her husband left her with nothing, food appeared on her step every week for a year, and she only discovered years later whose hands had carried it. A younger man who said she had quietly settled a debt that would have taken his family's land. Story after story, and my family standing there stunned, because we had lived beside this woman our whole lives and knew none of it. Not one word. She had done a lifetime of good in total silence, wrapped every deed like medicine, and the power of it, I am telling you, was in that room. You could feel it. It filled the building the way her name never needed to, and I thought, standing there, about all the loud givers I had known in my life, the ones who announced every kindness, whose generosity you heard about from their own mouths within the week, and how thin their funerals had felt in comparison. The dark good had compounded for 60 years. The loud good had been spent the day it was performed, cashed out for a compliment, nothing left to gather. Choose which estate you are building. The applause now, or the room too small to hold them later. You cannot have both. She knew that. Now you do. So there are the five. Your plans, your money, your wounds, your home, and your good deeds. And I know that to modern ears a teaching like this can sound like a retreat from people, a lonely fortress life. It is the opposite, and I will close by telling you why. A person with no walls does not have more intimacy. They have none. Because intimacy means chosen closeness, and choice requires a boundary to choose across. When everything about you is available to everyone, then your openness is worth nothing to anyone, and the people close to you receive the exact same access as the mailman. It is the protected parts that make closeness mean something. When you guard these 5 stores, then the person you finally show a wound to knows they are trusted. The person you finally tell the dream to knows they are chosen. Your openness becomes a gift again instead of a leak. That is what the old people understood in their camps. The wrapped medicine was not wrapped because the people were cold. It was wrapped because it was sacred. Parts of your life are sacred. Wrap them, and watch how much warmer, not colder, your remaining years become when the people around you must earn their way past the wrapping, and the ones who do know what they hold. If what you heard today stayed with you, the book is there. The Native Way. 20 teachings, 100 pages, written the way I would speak to you if we were sitting together. Scan the QR code on the screen with your phone or find the link in the comments. Read one chapter. Sit with it. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which of the 5 have you been leaving unprotected, and what did it cost you? I read every comment, and if this is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel. We are not collecting viewers here. We are collecting people who remember. Come back next week. I am not done teaching yet.